All right, well, I'm a big nerd about how movies are made, so I've always
Okay.
wanted to go on set and see a film get shot. So the scene when Helena actually, you're circling around and you're actually turning in from the dress to the next dress, how does that look on set? Because obviously it's done in one shot in the film. How do they do that?
So, well, first of all, we did it on this night shoot, and everyone was really tired, and it was the middle of the night, and it was winter, and I was freezing, and I sort of learned this routine where I'd spin, but then later on, we did it again indoors. It was the last shot of the whole movie,
really?
and I was on this rotating platform, and first of all I did it in the pink dress, then I did it in the blue dress, and they had an image of what I'd done, and then I had to replicate it so that they could seamlessly change the pink into the blue with CGI.
So cool.
Yeah.
I mean, Kenneth did an amazing job with that shot. It's all one shot. I'm glad I'm glad there was no cut there.
It was really, and I would sort of like, they would, on the computer, they would put me doing it in the pink and the blue dress, and it had to be exact. Like my arms had to be doing the exact same thing.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
It really is cool. Now with the slipper in the movie, this is just like a nerdy question too, but obviously it fits your foot. So the people whose foot it doesn't fit throughout the production, did they make it specifically designed just for you? How do they do that?
Well, no, it doesn't fit any foot.
How do they do it in the movie?
They CGI it on.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
know.
awesome. Wait, that's really? Seriously?
Yeah, well, because it's made of Swarovski crystal.
Oh.
So actually, I guess they could have made one that at least my foot could have like slipped into.
Yeah.
But then I got size. I mean, maybe they wanted it to be smaller because I've got size 6. Maybe they wanted. I don't know. It feels quite tiny, doesn't
That's
it?
insane. It looks so real.
Yeah.
So I'm like blown
so
away
I
now.
wore like little shoes with green dots on.
Oh, it's like motion capture almost. Now with TV shows like Downton Abbey, you get multiple seasons, multiple arcs, and you have a long arc there. In a movie, you get 2 hours. So I'm wondering what you prefer. Do you prefer, like, could you imagine fleshing out Cinderella over 5, 6 seasons? Like, how could you? Is that even something that could be possible considering the storyline?
I guess so. I mean, we wait to see what happens to Cinderella 2,
Yeah.
Cinderella 3,
Yeah.
Cinderella 4 when they're like
The slipper doesn't
old
fit
and
in the
unhappy.
sequel, it fits in the third one.
Finally, they make a slipper that fits
Her
me.
feet
For God's
grow
sake.
at some point. I don't know how they would do that.
I really enjoyed actually having a beginning, a middle, and an end because it meant that you can sort of plan your journey of your performance. And with Downton, you never know what's going to happen to your character, so that throws up a sort of sense of spontaneity and an excitement, but also it has challenges too with sort of knowing where you're going.
So when you're actually riding in the carriage, it's breaking down. Is that all done through CGI as well?
Well, a lot of it was CGI, but loads of it was, it was the coolest day. It was one of my favorite days.
Yeah.
I was on a trampoline, I was on like a zip wire, and I like span like on a rope, like on a harness. I was clamped into this silver arm, which spun me. I had a pumpkin made of like sort of polystyrene or like foam, and men were pushing it in, and I was going like this, and I had a pumpkin that I had holes for my arms and my legs that I ran in.
Alright, this is what I want to see.
Yeah.
Someone released the Cinderella no CGI.
I said, when I watched the film for the first time, I was like, Ken, where has the shot of me running in the pumpkin gone? Are you crazy?
DVD feature on completely no CGI version of Cinderella.
No.
Alright, well, it's good to see you. Congratulations.
see
I think I can say for all the Game of Thrones fans out there, it's good to see you alive.
Thanks very much.
Thank you for being here.
I'm all right.
Yeah. No, I want to ask you about accent changes because I feel like it's such an interesting thing to talk to an actor, hear their real accent, but then see them in a movie. What is the hardest part about this particular accent in regards to changing it? Did you struggle with any of the particular words or letters?
I struggled with trying to not sound like the Queen of England. I didn't want to sound too posh and kind of alienate him. So I'm not a method actor in any way, but I stay in accent when I'm working in a different accent through the whole film just to get these rhythms and tones right. But you know, I really enjoyed doing it.
Like one of my favorite scenes in the movie is when you first meet Cinderella and you're kind of like blown away that she has no idea who you actually are. I wonder, like in your real life, is that something that you look for, like people who don't know that you're an actor? Like, is that something that you try to like? I don't know. Is that you know what I mean?
No, I don't know. I suppose you just never know if someone kind of does know you from something or doesn't, and if you focus on it too much, I think you become ultra paranoid because you can be like, oh God, you know, like. You're aware of yourself because you think people know you from a show, and actually no one's seen the show, and you know, and then so you have to kind of
awkward.
then it's awkward, or you're like, I'm absolutely fine, you know, I can get really drunk, and no one knows me from the show, and then suddenly people have got their cell phones out, and you're like, oh dear, I'm making terrible decisions. So I think you have to just not really think about it and just have fun.
All right, this is a totally nerdy question because I love Game of Thrones. if they were to Disney-fy Game of Thrones, like you bring it into like what would it look like? What would the Red Wedding scene look like if it was like a Disney movie? Like how could they even pull that off?
I don't think they could pull it off. I mean, there's so much TNA in Game of Thrones. I don't think we can Disney-fy that.
They just instead of like killing somebody, you hit him with a wand. I don't know.
Oh,
I don't
do you know what I mean?
What they would do.
I don't think we could get away with it.
Someone needs to get George R. R. Martin on the phone and take care of this.
Right.
Cinderella meets Game of Thrones.
He'd just kill us all.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, one of the most powerful shots in the film for me, without giving anything away, there's a moment where it's an emotional moment with you and your father. That's all I'll say. And Kenneth does this amazing shot where he pans the shot up and you see the crown.
Brilliant.
Amazing shots. I want to ask you, are you, as an actor, when you're in a scene like that, are you aware of the shot itself? Do you know how epic that shot is as you're doing it?
Don't know how epic it is, but know how significant it is.
Yeah.
Especially with the crown at the top of it.
Yeah.
I think it's really important, and knowing what image we were leaving, which gives me license to do something physical in that moment on the bed. That I think is quite a powerful moment. It gives us a chance to do that when you kind of know what the shot's going to be.
When you leave a part, I mean, obviously this or something like Game of Thrones, do you miss a role? Like, do you miss Robb Stark at all? Do you miss being him on set? Like, is that something like you like wake up and go, gosh, I wish I can go to set today and be him again?
No, I mean, I was Robb Stark for like 5 years, really. You know, that kind of it went on that long, and so you kind of you know in your head as an actor, well, I do at least, where you go, okay, this is the start and middle and end of something, and you kind of say goodbye to something, and I'd reached the end of the story with Robb Stark. You know, I'm still very close with everyone, and I miss being part of that family, because you see these people every day, and it's great to be around them, but, you know, that was a great part of my life. I'm kind of leaving a high note.
It's good to see you, by the way.
You too.
I have to ask you, obviously your character is quote-unquote cruel at times. So I want to ask you, when you have a moment like that, and you're on camera acting in a cruel way, and the camera cuts, do you go back to being nice, or do you keep up the cruel vibe off camera to kind of keep the set going, for the movie going?
The best sets, no matter what the genre of the film, with playful sets. And so working with Holiday and Sophie and with Lily, it was really, really playful. And with Stellan, of course. And so the play just extends beyond. It doesn't necessarily have to do with the scene. Like often when you're doing a scene that is incredibly emotionally charged, it's often great to go in there laughing, because it's just about being open to what the other actors are doing. So I think it's, I mean, Ken keeps a very buoyant set.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was definitely Bull.
What I find fascinating is I interview actors who say when they play a villain, they say they don't consider the character to be a villain because they have to kind of justify what the person is doing. So when you go into a character like this who can be quote-unquote a villain in the Cinderella story, do you have to justify what her actions, because now we get kind of a backstory to who she was.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the stepmother's story, obviously, but it does interest me what makes people tick and what makes... She's never actually given a name, really. She's always called the evil or the wicked or the ugly stepmother.
Right.
And the fact that she was given a name, Lady Tremaine, which she has in some of the renditions of the story, was really fantastic. And all of us were interested in the three-dimensional qualities, obviously within a fairy tale setting. But you are playing the villain. You know, you're playing the dark side to Cinderella's light, and that's, you know, you do have to serve the story in that way. So it's not about being likable, but it's about being perhaps understood.
If you could see this character in another room, in a room with one of your other characters having a conversation, who would be interesting to see a back and forth with the wicked stepmother and then someone else you've played?
Oh, I wouldn't mind seeing a showdown between Elizabeth I and the stepmother. Both redheads.
Yes.
in a big tub of jelly.
What would they talk?
They wouldn't talk. They'd just go at it.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. But I mean, that'd be because they're both people who understand the way the world works.
Right.
And they're both trying to surf that as women in a men's world.
Right.
So.
Right. As we get the backstory to your character in the film, I know a script only lends so much to who a person is. I'm wondering, like, even in previous roles and this role, what are things that you add in personally that maybe we wouldn't know, like who her parents were, her birthday, her favorite foods? Like, do you add those things into the characters before you walk on a set? Do you know those things about the person?
Often, it depends on the role. And also the way you're working. Like if you're improvising a lot, then those sort of details are really important. But I think the way a character moves through a space, who they are drawn to, who they will touch or not touch, who they need and don't need. Those kind of primal things are really important, particularly in a landscape like this. And so much is informed by the world, the visual world that you're in, and also the costumes that you're wearing. Because a lot of that stuff is the evil. If you're wearing green, you don't have to play jealousy, because you kind of visually are given that anyway. So sometimes that then, you know, well, I'm wearing that costume so I can play against it in that other way. So it's often it's often not psychological in that way, in order for the result to be psychological, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Last time I spoke with you was for Thor, and we were talking about the use of canted angles because you wanted to look like a comic book page was turning.
Exactly.
And you have a shot in this film which blew my mind when she was running through the room, and you start the angle like this. Yeah. And then you wave it this way. Yeah. It's in the trailer too. Can you talk about the decision on that and how you got that? Was that all one shot?
Yeah, it was. It was a canted Dutch angle, a kind of a bracket for the camera where we could do that and be on a track as well. So we were panning and tracking the other way and tilting the camera 180 degrees. We loved it. Harris Zambalukos shot Thor as well, and we had a lot of fun over the years. Talking about how many people were driven mad by the canted angles in Thor. I loved him in Thor, but obviously some people didn't. And people say he can never stop doing it. And we thought we've got to be able to get one into this movie. And that was it. We thought, well, we're moving. They'll never know. They'll never know. You know. And also, it's crazy. It's midnight. She has to get back home. So I'm glad you enjoyed it.
As a director, though, that choice of that shot, what do you want the audience to think about as they see the movie? Because
literally, the world is turning upside down. Right. Her world is turning upside down, and it is literally going to be coming apart in a minute in the form of footmen who will become lizards, horses that become mice. So it's literally, whoa! How do I keep level? Yeah. Not easily. And also, it's that room is full of portraits. So it was partly saying, look at all these people. That's a prince's family. That's a king's family. That's just sort of. So it felt like there were people crowding in on her as well. So it just cool. It was nice.
Now the moment when we actually get the carriage and everything with Helena Bonham Carter and we were watching that scene, when you're shooting that, like, what does it look like on set for the actors? Are they seeing? I mean, I know it's a lot of it CGI as it turns in, but what are they seeing? What do you?
Well, you give them as much as we can, and Helena particularly always loves to see as much as she can. So if there's a greenhouse there, for instance, with a pumpkin, we had an enormous inflatable pumpkin.
That's what she just told me. She was running with her arms out.
Yeah. There was a funny moment where when Lily and Helena get squashed between the expanding pumpkin and a greenhouse. It's a real expanding pumpkin in a real greenhouse. Oh. So we try to because they're so lunatic and ludicrous to bring these sizable objects to bear. And often they were markers for our CGI shots, but they were great inspirations for the actors' imaginations.
Oh man, those shots were awesome. They really, really were. Now, when you're directing a scene where Cate Blanchett's being completely cruel to her, and as we watch these moments, and the camera cuts, you yell cut. Does Kate stay mean, like to keep the character going, or does she kind of go, I'm just kidding, we're all good?
Well, it's an interesting question. I think some people carry a little afterburn. I didn't notice particularly that Kate did it, but sometimes I would encourage people when the scene was finished to improvise that there might be a moment or a physical action or whatever, and I was always pretty careful to think, no, I think it's done now. I can shout cut, and then she won't shout at me. Yeah. So it was, I think people were able to play just up to the final whistle and then drop.
One more nerdy question for you, the people who were trying the shoe on that couldn't actually get the shoe on, was that an actual strain of them trying to put it on? Like, did you? Because I know the shoe itself has it's like cut off at the foot, so no one can actually wear it. Yeah. But how are they actually putting it into the shoe? How does that work?
They are. Yeah, I'm afraid they are. We kept saying, in the one version of the story in the Brothers Grimm, they cut their toes off in order to try and cut their toes.
Yes.
Yeah. So we don't do that. But if we could get real close to that would be great. Obviously, no toes hurt in the making of this picture.
Yeah, we need to combine Cinderella and Game of Thrones and get Robb Stark to come back to life.
Yeah. Rich, do the toe thing.
Someone get George R. R. Martin on the phone. Let's get this taken care of immediately.
It's just an insert. It's a tribute thing.
Good to see you, buddy. Thank you so much. Red Wedding in Cinderella. Could you imagine?
Oh, my God.